sector investment in City Center and the Arts and Design District to date is approximately $263 million. I'm working with the City Council to refinance the Redevelopment Commission's obligations. And by placing a general property tax backup behind our TIF revenues, we will be able to take full advantage of the current low market interest rates. The bottom line for 2013 is that our revenues are projected to be $18.1 million and the payments will be $17 million. Additionally, to be conservative, our proposal, and we need to be conservative because I should mention that we've had decreases in commercial assessments because of the national economy, and we have to be aware of that and manage it very carefully. But because of that, I propose establishing a reserve fund of more than $10 million. While the recent deep recession has required careful and constant fiscal management from all officials at the city, all of our department heads, Carmel will emerge unscathed and well poised for the future. It appears the city will have about $20 million in the bank at the end of this calendar year. Since the start of the recession in 2008, Carmel has seen $1 billion, that's with a B, $1 billion of private sector investment in our community. During the past 16 years, more than $5 billion has been invested by the private sector in the Carmel community in construction costs alone. We've established many private-public partnerships that have helped us achieve great things together that neither entity could have achieved alone. And that shows a true measure of trust and commitment. I think one of the reasons we have seen this huge private sector investment is because we are way ahead of other cities in getting our roads, bridges, and other infrastructure critical to business development in place. We're ahead of the game. You will undoubtedly hear that as a result of these investments, Carmel has too much debt. However, it is important to recognize that the key ratio of debt payments to income is reasonable, which is why Standard & Poor's raised our property tax bond rating during the height of the recession to AA+. I think another key measure of success is determined by who we're attracting to Carmel. Sales in local restaurants increased 30% on nights when there's a show at the Center for the Performing Arts. Gallery walks in the Art and Design District increased crowds by almost 30% compared to regular Saturday nights there. Other special events hosted in the Arts and Design District have attracted up to 10,000 people. The BMW Golf Championship a month ago sold over 100,000 tickets. The Center for the Performing Arts has sold 250,000 tickets since it opened a year and a half ago. And based on national studies, that means that $7.5 million was added to the local economy through the additional spending of patrons at those shows. Carmel is working hard to get our name out globally to increase economic development in our community. We have been featured in the London Financial Times, on the BBC, on German radio that is syndicated on over 150 European stations, The Economist magazine, Belgium TV, Anderson Cooper's 360 show, Fox and Friends, John King's State of the Union, and I've delivered lectures as far away as Qatar on the Saudi Peninsula. We can compete, and I want to emphasize that, we can compete as a small city in a global market. You may have heard me say many times that we don't have seashores or mountain ranges, but we focus on the built environment like other great cities that don't have outstanding geography. There is no reason we can't build the kind of city that people want to see with architecturally significant structures that will last for centuries and help put Carmel, Indiana on the map. It is important, however, to stay focused on the overall goal of our projects and the long-term benefits to the community. One must adopt a certain attitude to be able to embrace change for all that it can offer. It's helpful to remember the doubts some had about some of our early projects that have proven successful. I was thinking back the other day to a protest because we were building the Monon Trail. Our roundabouts in general were questioned in the beginning. The Palladium, the Center for the Performing Arts, the City Center, the Monon Community Center, and projects from as long ago as a decade and a half ago, Hazeldale Parkway. But now that those projects are complete, it is easy, I think, for most of us to see the benefits. I understand the hesitancy some have to accept new things, but we must continue to challenge ourselves to achieve greatness. We must also challenge ourselves to give careful analysis to so much of what we hear, read, and view. We live in a time when our technology allows anyone to share their message to a wide audience with almost manic frequency. It does not mean that the message is accurate, nor that it is relevant. And it's a challenge to determine how best to filter those messages so that we can have better access to true value and the meaning of the information we see pass by us each minute of the day. Even though we have achieved the #1 designation from Money Magazine, and we understand that this is a tremendous honor, it is not a time to sit back and rest on our laurels, but rather a time to take advantage of this rare opportunity to capitalize on this great story and to use it to our advantage in our economic development efforts to attract top-level employees and businesses. And I want to share with you now some of the ways we should move forward. We have new buildings going into the city center. It includes Anderson Berkeley's corporate offices called the Mez on 3rd, to be located along 3rd Avenue on the southwest side of the theater building at the city center, and there's a picture of it on the screen. Anderson Berkeley is also building apartments on the east end of the parking garage at the Center for the Performing Arts, and that structure will be called the Mez on the Monon, and there's a picture of that building. That's where the blank concrete is between the two end caps along the Monon now facing east. PEDCOR has proposed starting the first building in Phase 2 of City Center, and it will be located along Rangeline Road and called the Nash Building, and there's a picture of it. It's just north of what I call the Shapiro's block. One goes north on Rangeline. PEDCOR is also in the final planning stages of the City Center Hotel, and we look forward to working together with the community to get that project built. While these structures will take some time to complete, a more immediate improvement to the area are stairs leading up to the plaza level of the city center, which will allow easier access back and forth between the city center shops and restaurants and the Center for the Performing Arts, Center Green, and the offices in City Center on the west side of the Monon Trail. In addition to moving forward on the City Center projects, we plan to continue fine-tuning the plans for what we're referring to as the Midtown area. And that is the area between the Arts and Design District and City Center. And we're doing this just as city officials in the 1970s and 80s sat down and put together a plan for the US 31 office corridor. And just as we put together a plan in the late 1990s for the Arts and Design District and City Center, it's always important to have a plan in place for the future. We're also currently working on a better plan, a long-term plan for Merchant Square area to open up new roads and add more mixed uses to that development so that it, again, is in a position to thrive. It is important that we consistently look for unique events that will bring people here from all over the United States to Carmel to help support the local hotel industry, to help get our name out there. One example of this is ACTFest, the National Association of Community Theaters that is bringing their national conference to Carmel next year with the possibility that they will continue to hold this conference here year after year. That means, if that happens, that hundreds of people would come to our city annually, spending money, staying in our hotels, eating in our restaurants, and shopping in our stores. Now I'll share with you one more of our upcoming projects before I close, and that deals with 96 and Keystone Parkway. Well, this project has been put on hold until the US 31 corridor is completed. I have some very exciting news to share that will make the wait more tolerable. We have a signed agreement between the City of Carmel and the State of Indiana for $11.7 million coming to Carmel from the State of Indiana. That agreement includes $5 million cash payment this year to Carmel and another $6.7 million committed for upgrades and improvements to NDOT's current plan for US 31 through Carmel. It's as a result of a very good partnership with the Indiana Department of Transportation, our governor, and over a year of negotiations. The state agreed to revise their plans for US 31 through Carmel. And the revisions include a roundabout interchange instead of a diamond interchange with stoplights at 116th and US 31. They've agreed to construct a roundabout for us at Pennsylvania Street and 116th to work with that interchange. The state and the Federal Highway Department have agreed to modify their original plans and build a roundabout interchange at US 31 and 106th Street. In addition to these three additional roundabouts, NDOT will revise their plan to include $6.7 million in upgrades and enhancements, including ornamental lighting at interchanges, pedestrian lighting under the bridges over 31, pedestrian lighting on the bridges and along retaining walls adjacent to the walkways. They've agreed to lengthen and widen certain bridges so that we can have pedestrian walkways. They've upgraded with more decorative railing, those walkways with more additional railing, and they've agreed to build a walkway joining the Monon Trail to Clay Terrace Boulevard. So I'm very, very pleased that we were able to reach an agreement that brought many elements to the plan that will be in the best interest of the community over the long term. I appreciate being given the opportunity to speak with you today and share the accomplishments and plans for the future. We are able to do so many wonderful things in our community because we have dedicated employees, active community partners, and elected and appointed officials who are all focused on keeping Carmel one of the best cities anywhere. The city of Carmel remains a strong, viable city. While some of the issues we deal with may at times seem complicated and difficult, we have demonstrated that it is not beyond our power and ability to accomplish our goals. It is important to keep these challenges in perspective, to pause and reflect on the fact that while every city and business in our nation is dealing with the difficulties caused by the recession, our city continues to thrive. And I need you all to stay engaged to ensure that Carmel remains the kind of city we want to leave to our future generations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't know when the last time is that maybe you had close to 500 of your friends together for a meal.